NTIA had to exercise that oversight in your decision. Do you know a case where there was a need for the NTIA to come in? And there is a need where the RIR come in to exercise their oversight through their community outcome. Tell us a little bit about that oversight part and what you see from your operational perspective.
So when it comes to operations, no, NTIA has never told us what to do or have come and said, oh my gosh, you gave an AS number block to Afrinic, take it back. No, they've never said yay nor nay. And in fact, in our reporting processes, and if you all have your laptops open, I see, if you go to iana.org/performance, you'll see that there's a whole list of performance reports, and we report that to the community. Obviously, NTIA is probably interested, but as it comes to the implementation and the allocation of numbers to the regional internet registries, the NTIA is not involved in the policymaking piece as far as I can tell. I guess I could turn that back to you. And they're not involved in the operations. And we give monthly reports that are published on that site that I've just given you. We also have monthly reports and calls with the NTIA in their oversight role. But as it comes to decisions about operations and implementation, they're not involved.
Thank you, Elise. Back to the floor, and I see two. SM?
SM, I participate in IETF. I understand Yanapan quite well. I don't think that the IETF, I'm not speaking for the IETF, by the way, I don't think there's much interest in doing allocation or assignments on IPv4. IPv4, the pool is exhausted. So I don't think that there's a concern from I don't think that the community, I mean the African community, has to be concerned with what the IETF would or can do with IPv4, because I don't think it's going to publish a RFC in the near future. I'm speaking 5 or 10 years. So please don't worry about that.
Yes, Barak?
Thank you, Adiel. I think I will just give some insights into the research that was done by the regional TLD organizations. I'm Barak from Africa Top Level Domains Organization for record purposes. We had several questions, and I'll just run through to give some highlights to the community based on the challenge that Adiel has given us. The CCTLD community is represented by Mary Uduma and Vikam Pisane, who unfortunately were not able to make it for this meeting, but I think I'll just make a few comments. So one of the questions that we sent out to our members in the region, that was in the survey, was the IANA function is currently operated by ICANN under contract to the US government. In the future, should the IANA function be operated as a separate organization or independent department? 44% of the CCTLDs in Africa felt that it should be operated as a separate independent department within ICANN. That is functional separation. The other question that was asked was if there is need for an external to ICANN, IANA oversight mechanism to replace the transactional oversight provided by NTIA's present role. And 55% of the CCs in our region felt that this should be done. It's a bit long, but again, we are willing to share with members of the numbering community what came out of this. Although I think there's going to be a public webinar on this issue, and we would like to also encourage members in the numbering community to participate because it will be public. Thank you.
I will encourage you heavily to register, to subscribe to the IANA oversight mailing lists at afrinic.net and share all of those information there, please. Thank you. Yes, Tijani?
Yes, Tijani Benjamin from ICANN. I think that as far as Afrinic is concerned, we have to talk about the numbering function. This is, I think, the aim of this session. Regarding the operation of those functions, I didn't hear anyone asking for changing it from ICANN, since it is very well done there. But the problem is the oversight. I think that we have to discuss whether the oversight should be done by something external of ICANN or by something inside ICANN. And in both cases, how we be sure that this oversight will be done fairly for the global interest, for the public interest, more than for financial interest or political interest. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tidjani. Yes, we have Raz.
Yeah. Continue in French.
Okay.
I would like for the community, for myself first of all, have an idea of what has what the contribution of NTIA with the contract. What has the community benefited? I'm following that question which had been launched.
Which has confirmed that has been no objection, and does it mean that the contacts that have taken place were just for form, but what have we been able to learn of positive or negative? And I would say that on this basis we can try to learn on what is positive. How can we try to see what is our basis and what can we take from what has been observed? Thank you very much. Yes.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Mukom Taman, and I'm not speaking as a staff of Avinik. It seems to me this conversation is premised on the fact that as the numbers community, we love the status quo. It works, it's bottom up. Now, if that's the case, would it be too much to ask that the relevant working groups codify everything that embodies the way we currently work, which we believe works, into a draft of what that contract or requirement should be, and then let the community start from there? Because it seems to me, once you start from this perspective, there are people who don't even understand how the entire ecosystem works, and it's a bit too complicated in their minds. Would it be too much to ask that we begin, a good place to start would be to say, since we think that the status quo, at least within the numbers, the NR or RIR system, if it works, how about we codify it into a draft of what we want, and then get people to start commenting on that? Thank you.
Thank you very much for your suggestion. I'll finish the queue and come back to the panelists. So we'll note the question. Yes.
Yes, Raphaël Monnier from France. I just have a suggestion about everything that's going on for the past few months. Maybe we need to clarify or simplify all the communication. As you can see in France, we are, let's say, always complicated for everything. And we are trying to, some French people trying to get some change about the ICANN words in the TLDs. So maybe you can simplify all the communication. So we can talk about, as an ISP or something, with the French, say, government, because they mix up everything, because everything's moving so fast. So just simplifies communication. For us, we understand, but all people don't understand in France, for example.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Communication, awareness, yeah, yes, next?
Yes, Adam Nelson. I think we should all be aware that next summer is presidential election season in the United States, and I could easily imagine NTIA withdrawing their support of withdrawing stewardship. And so that's something, is there going to be any sort of statement or concept around the fact that NTIA should leave its oversight position within this context, or is it just going to be assumed that what they said is actually going to be followed through upon? Secondly, what about other groups that are going to vie for control of stewardship, potentially through the UN, any of those groups? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So I will come back to my panel and ask if anyone wants to take. We still have 15 to 20 minutes for this. So anyone want to take up some of the question? There was one question about refocusing this on the oversight. I think that is a comment. That is clear. One question is the lesson learned from the status quo. What have you learned? That is a follow-up question to my question to Elise. If we can know, if there is any backside of the current oversight by the NTIA that we need to correct when the NTIA will not be there, what is positive to do so? The lesson learned from the current contract. And the other question is about formalizing the current status quo that work. How can we codify that, make it more clear for people, which is a more communication side. That is a follow-up from the second thing on the French side. How do we communicate better on this? And the third question is the link with the other organization and the election, the political side of the whole thing. So,
Ajel, I think that if you come on the slide on the background of the IANA function, can you just come back on that one? Yes, this one. No. Yes. If you look at this slide, it shows clearly that the community in itself, I mean, you and I, have never been concerned really about the oversight function, because people are interacting with us through the operation and the policy. So the oversight have been a whole between the relationship that for many people, even they did not know that it exists. So it's very important that you understand that putting this on the table, like what do you think about, what are your ideas, how are we going to change it? No, I mean, when I heard about statu quo, the statu quo cannot exist, because statu quo at the oversight level cannot exist. The oversight can exist on what we have on the operation and policy, but the oversight cannot remain as it is, because we have to remove NTIA and USG with something. At least we have to decide that, do we need the oversight? Or if we keep it, we have to put name and structure there. And that is really the concern. I'm not hearing people, I mean, it seems in the past nobody knew even that there was an IANA contract between ICANN and USG. Many people did not know that there was a contract there. So this is really the question, and I think that we really have to be specific on that item, because the statu quo concerns operation and policy. But when it comes to statu quo, it cannot happen at the oversight level. And also, we should not ignore the discussion that is going. I mean, this is the last comment from the guy from France, I think. Like what's happening on the other fora, because UN and other people, like in our countries, we have regulators, we have other organizations who have their words on this thing. And I think that if this discussion comes global, it is because we want to handle all these views into one converged point of view to keep these things working well at the operation and policy, and to see how we can slightly define the oversight function to integrate the point of view of other stakeholders that did not see themselves in this model. That is really the concern.
Thank you, Mohamed. Anyone else from the panel? Alan?
Okay. The suggestion about codifying the status quo, I think that's a very good idea. I think we should do that. We should write down what the current status quo is as far as we in the numbers community understand it. And then people will be able to read that and see whether any changes are required. I definitely like that idea. Also, on the languages side, we should provide a way for people to make comments in other languages and have them translated, both on the input and the output side. Any reports we write should be translated into several languages, and we should allow input in several languages. Logistically, I'm sure the RIR staff can figure out a way to do that. And then about the oversight, one of the questions was, if the NTIA disappears, will the existing EMOU be sufficient? I don't have an answer to that, but it's certainly something that we should consider. And another related question is, should should we be trying to replace the NTIA and like invent a new oversight body? Or should we be allowing the oversight to be internal to ICANN using some sort of feedback loops? Those were all questions that came up, and again, I don't have answers. They're things that we have to think about. That's all. Thanks.
And in fact, that is a question to the floor. How do we do that? That's the real thing that we are discussing today. Good. Yeah, Tijani?
Yes, thank you. Mohammed, I agree with you that nobody knew before, the users, I mean, about the oversight and those things. But today the issue is the oversight. It's not the operation, I think. The operation, I think that I never heard someone from the community or from the technical people, etc., asking for changing it from the ICANN, since it is very well done there. But the oversight is the issue here. And I thought that this meeting is for input from the community to Afrinic, so that Afrinic propose to the CRISP what they think about the oversight. This is the issue. If we are not discussing that, and we are discussing everything but not that. So this is what we need people to tell us what they want, so that you can give to the CRISP the position of Africa. And I do think that Africa will be missing the opportunity if the community don't give input to you, so that you feed the CRISP. Thank you.
Okay. So can I try to be a little bit forceful here and say anyone that will talk on the mic should talk about oversight? Well, how do you think oversight should be? Should it be the community-based oversight? Do we want to create another organism? What's the oversight should be? Oh, Alain, are you running away?
So my point was not to touch on the oversight, is just to add to what Alan Barrett said and point people to the SACS 67 document. The ICANN Security and Stability Advisory Committee published a document, SACS 67, which describes the overview and the history of the IANA contract. I think this would be useful for the community as a document.
Okay. You are excused.
My name is Fiona Songa.
Yes, I will.
I think on the issue of oversight, the structures that exist within the RIRs, the bottom-up process, the structures that exist within ICANN, which is also a bottom-up process, should be strengthened in a manner that we are able to, in the absence of NTIA, we are able to continue providing the oversight role on the functions of IANA through the different tools and systems that exist within ICANN. The only challenge there is that based on my experience as a member of the ICANN, the previous ICANN Accountability and Transparency team, there is a need to reorganize that whole accountability process so that it has more impact and gives the institution, in this case ICANN, and its role in managing the IANA function, sufficient time that is practical to implement some of the recommendations that the community needs to see done. Because the challenge with that process is that the periods in between the reviews are too short, that we are putting the staff in a situation where they have to check for us boxes. If we really want results, we need to strengthen that whole process. We need to look at the periods between the different accountability processes and internal accountability tools so that we are able to get and achieve the kind of oversight we can achieve on our own as the global community without the US government oversight role.
Thank you. Don't go, Fiona. I just have one question. As we are getting real and we have only 20 minutes to go, you mentioned about strengthening the bottom-up process so that it can be used as oversight. If for our RIR process, if I ask you one thing that you think that needs to be strengthened so that we can use that? Do you have an idea of something that is not working well in the bottom-up that need to be strengthened?
Yes, I have one thing that needs to be strengthened. And I look at the African RRI because it's the one I'm very familiar with. In our region, we have a challenge with participation of the community, and part of it has to do with the ability or capacity of the community to give their views and engage. It has been raised by the panelists. It has been raised from the floor. We need to be able to get all community members to participate in processes in the language that they are comfortable in, which means we need to look at the languages used in our region: Portuguese, French, English, Swahili, and see how we can ensure that the community within this region can effectively participate. When we were doing the accountability, it was so hard to get input and views from the community because of the challenge differences and the language differences. And that limits our ability as a region and as a community to contribute towards our oversight role in ensuring that, for starters, our RRI is giving us what we expect, and ICANN and Diana are giving us what we expect as members of the global community.
Thank you very much, Fiona.
Yeah, Mukom Tamon again, speaking not on behalf of AFRINIC. I am all for the bottom-up process. I think one of the tenets of this community is that we believe that this works because we are self-adjusting. To advocate for anything now is actually to cast doubts about whether the status quo operationally works. So I believe that if we strengthen the bottom-up process, it could serve over the long term as a self-adjusting oversight function. And one of the things we could do to make that work would be, say, instead of, right now, a bottom-up, transparent, open, those are nice words. But could we attach some principles that we'll use on, say, a yearly basis to make sure that the work, the oversight function, is in line with what works for this community? So that's the nutshell, the bottom-up process. I believe that it can evolve to also serve as its oversight function, self-regulating. One of the ways to improve that is to the principles around which it is based, bottom-up, open, transparent, perhaps we should define them in a way that gives itself to measurement so that on a yearly basis we can know that we are doing a good job now.
Thank you. So I wrote on measuring the principle, the application of principle. Yes, Sunday.
Sunday, speaking as Sunday and Sunday alone. I have two proposals, Plan A, Plan B. Plan A, I am 100% with Fiona, with a little bit of more modification, which is an addition that we should befriend our governments more. We need a bit of more befriending the government, because in some places, government is still everything. Plan B, if we fail with Plan A, let's hand oversight over to the secret working group.
Yes, Tijani.
Okay, thank you. I think that the question of Avery wasn't treated. Do we wish to have a separate oversight for the numbering function, or should we, or do we agree on a global oversight for all the functions of IANA? This is a question that we have to respond to answer. There is another thing. I may agree with any model you propose. I think the main issue is the accountability mechanisms behind them. Because you may have the best model you propose. If there is not the good accountability behind it, it will not work, it will not be fair. So I think that we have to link it to the accountability mechanisms. Thank you.
Thank you. Sunday.
I want to attempt to answer Tijani. I think we should not split it. But if we can find a way of doing names without reverse DNS, then we should consider something.
Okay, yeah. So I'll come back to my panel, and I think now the debate has been really narrowed down to the real thing, and ideas start coming up. So Dr. Nee and then Daniel.
I just wanted to comment on the oversight and the desire to replace it. In my opinion, it's not always that you replace something with another. Sometimes you just take it away. When I became of age in my tradition, I became mature. I did everything myself with no oversight. So perhaps this has been going on for long. We've been gaining strength. We've been going through various affirmation or whatever, various ATRT and so on. And we may just have reached a point where even when you ask what is the oversight, you don't get a very compelling response as to exactly what it is, or so maybe it has just gradually shrunk to one of a perception of its existence. And we should be open that the oversight could indeed disappear by the groups themselves becoming mature, strong, and able to do those things. You need to include that. It's not always that you replace an oversight with another body. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, Nee. Daniel?
Yeah, I'd like to come back to the question, do we want a global oversight for IANA? I think I would advise all the communities to think about what they want to achieve before thinking about form, function before form. And several people have said it already. What do we want? Well, we want the IANA to implement our policies. And they've done it so far. And when we talk about oversight, what I hear, and it might not be what people are saying, but what I hear is we want mechanisms how we can ensure that that happens, and that the IANA doesn't, at some point, implement something else, for whatever reason. And if we can achieve that, and I think that's the main objective, to my mind, of oversight. And how we achieve that is secondary. I'm an old man, so I'm a traditionalist. I would like to see the IANA to remain the integrated thing that it is now of the three functions. But if it turns out in the process that we have to sacrifice that principle, and that's the main principle, is implement our policies. And if we don't have confidence that the mechanism that we can agree on a mechanism with the other communities, the names and the protocol parameters, then we are at a juncture where we have to make a tough decision. At the moment, it looks to me that that's entirely possible. The important thing is here, and people have said it, and I'll say it again ad nauseum, is that given the time frame, the roadmap, the short time in which this has to be done, we have to keep talking to the names and protocol parameters communities, and we have to do it individually. There's not someone responsible for it. There's not a mechanism. So we have to really keep talking, because now I'm putting my ICG member hat firmly on. The worst thing that can happen is that in February, beginning of February, the ICG receives 3 totally incompatible proposals. Because you cannot expect, and I'll say that very bluntly, you cannot expect if the ICG receives totally incompatible proposals for the ICG to somehow miraculously come up with something out of their hat that makes them all be compatible. That this will not happen. And the ICG has very clearly said in their charter, so the most important thing in the first meeting that we had, we said we will not be creative. We will not invent new things. We will just go and try to put puzzle pieces that fit each other together. Yeah? But if they don't fit each other, then we will not be successful, and we will miss this opportunity to make progress.
Thank you very much, Daniel. Seung?
Thank you, Adil. Just to first re-emphasize what Daniel just mentioned. I happen to be a member of the cross-community working group for names, handling the stewardship thing, and I think this is a reality of the fact that the proposals that are coming right now from the three communities are not, doesn't look like they are manageable, if I use that word. So we need to have some level of cross-communication in order to actually make ICG's work a reality. I don't know what magic ICG is going to use. Of course, they have no magic, so we need to make sure that what we are proposing to them is workable. However, my main comment is talking about the name stewardship part. The numbers stewardship part. I think there's one thing that empowers the numbers community, and that is the MOU between the NRO and ICANN. It is by that MOU that there is a reference to the GPDP, that is the Global Policy Development Process. And that is our concern. We want to make sure that IANA, through ICANN, continues to operate by that GPDP, by implementing our policies. So the question is, do we need to look at the MOU to ensure that, to rewrite it in a way that ensures I can always follow the GPDP? We don't want a situation whereby we develop a policy and ICANN does not approve it. Because at the moment, you develop a policy, we haven't experienced these scenarios, right? However, these are some of the possibilities that could happen. So I would like us to actually look at these scenarios of what could happen and see how we can actually rewrite the MOU in order to actually cover for that loophole, if you say. So, like Tijani said, accountability is very key in all this. And to also repeat what Dr. Nia said, I think ICANN has grown. There's tremendous improvement, and it's by design. ICANN is purpose-based. It was built for this, and we actually need to also recognize that. There's really no need to set up a new oversight for it. That's my personal view, by the way, but it's up to the community to decide. Thank you.
Thank you, Seun. Mohamed, that will be the last round for the panel, very quickly, because there is one person in the queue.
Okay, thank you, Chairman. I want to raise 2 points just to follow up with what Daniel was saying. I think that Daniel was making a correlation between what we want from operations and policy, that people are implementing what we want through the policy. But there is also a dimension that was not mentioned. It was who's going to take care of the global system to run fine and not to fail. This is also another thing that is part of what we expect from the oversight function. I mean, let's be paranoid. I mean, what's going to happen if operations are not working fine in the existing model? Let's look at what's happening in the CC site, because we are from Africa. If a CC is not performing under the responsibility, under the public interest, is the system is well defined to react and to permit the community to be served. There is some failure happening. So I think that one aspect that needs to be really considered in this oversight is who's going to prevent from a global system to fail. Like how we're going to do in order to avoid like a regional internet registry to fail. What happens if Afrinic gets stuck and no operation was possible? Do we think behind the model what's going to happen? I think that this is things that we're not seeing this reasoning coming from the policy or the operation. These are oversight function, and I think that it has to be really taken care of.
Thank you very much, Mohamed. Mr. Birama.
Alors, je continuerai mon propos
The 3 points. First of all, I would like to answer the fact that to know if we have the dysfunction, oversight function has to go on. We all agree here where when it comes to the situation, personal situations, we can, or up to a certain extent, we can say we can overcome that function. But when we talk about community, and experience has shown that when we talk about community, we have somewhere, if there is a function where group which has the ability to intervene in the name of the community for the need of community, we need somewhere oversight, be it an NTIA or not. We have to find an adapted mechanism to be able to maintain that oversight role, because it's necessary. We all know that human being is not perfect, and very fast things can really go wrong and will not serve the community. So for me, that function is important. The second point, I agree to analyze to what we have to redo or not, what to maintain, what do we have to separate or split or not. So I come back to my first question. Yes, they're asking us to give our opinions on that issue, on that question, do we change or not? Sorry, I mean, at the lowest level, we need from you here, the panelists, those who have worked a lot in that field, to give an opinion on what has worked before or not. Give us a state, what came out from the collaboration, what was good for the community or not. Because we are going to give our opinion, we're going to pronounce ourselves, but we follow the debates, the discussions. However, at one point, we need to have a kind of summary to show the essentials. This was useful in this direction or not in that sense, but not for that. As from there, you give us, for the simplest participant in the community, the way for them to express their opinions. And I'll join on the third point, the opinion of the lady who was before. We need many at Afrinic to reinforce certain mechanism from bottom-up mechanism. I say that because I form part of a USP community. At each meeting, this is my third. I am unfortunately disappointed that I don't see a lot of ISP members here in this meeting, and then discussion concerns us. Other organizations participate in the community. The main ones who are using that every day, who put that at the disposal of the community, it is us, those tools which we put at disposal. So we have to think deeply in that sense to enforce the participation of the whole community, especially when we are talking about stage and steps like this. And I'm sorry if we think that Africa is going to miss again this opportunity. It's really terrible to think about it. So it's up to us to set up to reinforce this mechanism, to allow all those that are able to voice their opinion to do that in the easiest way possible. Thank you. I think we've gone through all those questions in length.
Is that I think it is clear that the people want to contribute to this, and there are still some area that they need clarity on. I will say that we still have few days. We have the IANA oversight mailing list that is still open. I will also say that if you want to post on that mailing list in French, go ahead. We'll put in place a mechanism to allow that to be translated so that it can be used as well. Donc, vous pouvez le faire. I hear from the last part of this discussion few things. I hear a mechanism to allow active participation, to improve active participation to the bottom-up mechanism. It doesn't have to be a declaration of openness, but it has to be an active declaration of openness. That means we need the mechanism to actively bring people into the process, not just by saying it. That's the first thing, including language, breaking language barrier and all the other things. I hear measuring. How do we measure the achievement or the operation of the IANA function? I hear engage government. I hear reviewing the MOU to ensure that ICANN is accountable in the GDP implementation. I hear that we need a mechanism to exercise the oversight. We cannot remove the oversight. Those are the things I hear from the comment that comes from the floor. We are 15 minutes over the time. Can I give 30 seconds to each panelist to just wrap up? 30 seconds. Possible? Good. Mohamed. Yes, it was that fast.
Now, I think that I have one message to give to the community is this transition is ours, and we are all fighting since the beginning to have strong representation within the number of community, and this is why Afrinic have been set up. So don't miss the opportunity to be also part of that transition, because we have our word to put in, and we have a lot of pressure from the ground coming from our national environment and ecosystem in Africa, and I think that it's going to be a little bit pity if we miss to express this to the global community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I think the Afrinic as an organization and this community should be proud of their achievements. You should be proud of what you have. You have a working policy development mechanism. You have a strong team implementing the policies. And you are part of an RIR system that's worldwide. Be proud of it and contribute further to this transition. As Mohamed says, it is yours, but do it being proud and building on the foundations that you already have.
I think we should answer question set. So we should take a good look at what NTIA said we should do. And most important for me is let's take a look at the SAC recommendations, SA 67. In this case, enhance our policy drawing process to ensure that all instructions that it provides to IANA function operator are clear and implementable.
Alice?
Just to close, I'd like to go back to the question of what things work. And one of the things that I think that I'd like to highlight that works is the collaboration between the various RIRs in coming up with the global policy and then providing feedback and oversight to the IANA department on our implementation of that. And so some of the things that have worked there are, for instance, when you had a policy for the autonomous system number allocations, there was lack of clarity. We came back to the ASO. You gave us clarity. So that give and take works and is in place today, and that provides an oversight that we're doing what you actually want us to do. Also, and I don't know how many of you look at it, I'll tell you to go to that website again, iana.org/performance. There are 3 things that all 3 communities have always asked for, and that's timeliness, accuracy, and transparency. So the feedback to ICANN is whether or not we're making that happen for you. That's one thing for measuring and accountability. So we have been measuring that, and I think that's part of the oversight, whether or not you think that the measures that are in place are sufficient and if that provides enough input for oversight. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Elise.
Okay, as a closing note, I would like to echo what my colleague Daniel has said, and I wanted to add that I think you need to stay true to your structures and build on your relations. They are yours. You have built them already. And I think it's important to note that moving forward and taking a look at the structures that have to be put into place, don't make it up. I don't think that any responsible administration would release oversight to a structure that has no proven track record. Afrinic has a proven track record within its structure. I think you need to work with these and stay true to the pieces that move this community. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Adia. So quickly, I want to say that there is existing medium to participate. A lot of information is on the Afrinic website. While we continue to talk about improved participation, let's take advantage of what we have now. The time is short. Let's discuss the substance which is actually coming up with a solution for the oversight. Let's discuss the substance. And there are already existing proposals on the mailing list of Afrinic. Let's look at it, provide recommendation to actually review, to change it if need be, and let's make progress. The time is short. Thank you.
Most of the panelists took over what I was about to say in the closing remarks, but I would add that regarding the focus in the oversight, this could be my main advice, and the rest of the expressions that have been done during these couple of hours were really interesting, and you have a lot of input to provide to the process. So I would also say that the main advice I would give is there were references to strengthening the RARs, and especially Afrinic in accountability and other things. If the oversight will be going to the RARs, which is something that could appear, focusing also in how to improve our accountability, or how to add to help us to improve the accountability or the rest of our structures to be strengthened, could be one of the focus. Thank you.
Thank you, Andres.
Okay, I heard a few things. I think people would like us to maintain the bottom-up process that we already have within Afrinic and the other RIRs. I heard a call for better documentation of what's currently in place. How do things work today? I heard a call to improve participation in non-English languages. And then my personal opinion, which I think is consistent with what I've heard, is that I see no need for large changes. We might want to tweak a few things, add some SLAs, change some MOUs, but small changes. Thanks.
Thank you very much, and a round of applause to the panelists who really steered the discussion. Thank you very much for your contribution, and we have 3 days from now to end of December for our region to come up with some key elements. We need to make the task easy for our CRISP team member, because as from that day, they will join the other CRISP team member from the other region to build the number community proposal. So we need to give them as much as possible so that they can do their job. So let's go and provide the information. Thank you.
So thank you, everyone. Just before breaking for lunch, I'll just ask you again, don't forget to fill your survey. Of course, the survey is categorized in 5 sections. The very first question is about policy development. So skip this question, fill the other part, and then you can submit it as from tomorrow to participate in the raffle. That's it. And just after lunch, there is the panel dedicated to technical presentations, and then to Afrinic updates. Bon appétit!